yeah, Facebook ad secrets, how to create a winning campaign. The first thing that I want to say before we start is what this talk is versus what it isn't. So this is more about sort of mindset and understanding like 30,000 foot view. It's not necessarily here are the buttons to click and here are the thing, the targeting and all that. There's like a bazillion videos online that show you how to do that. There's actually a link in my notes to a really good one that you can use. It's sort of like a step-by-step thing. But this is more just sort of like theoretical stuff that's really important to understand and to think about before you actually get in and start making an ad. Because it's real easy for people to just get in there and start clicking buttons and uploading stuff, and then they waste $50 or $100 and they're like, it doesn't work. But like, it doesn't work because like you didn't go through the process to figure out like what I'm about to talk to you about. So this guy, obviously you know this guy, right? Russell Brunson. He wrote a book called Expert Secrets. And do you know the story of this book? So basically this guy, he created some software called ClickFunnels. And if you've ClickFunnels. Okay. And so if you've clicked on anything, on any ad on Facebook or basically anywhere else, you're going into his software, and that's how people are capturing your data and sending you out, the PDF or whatever that you wanted to download. So what he did was he invented this software, and he tells a story, I think it's in this book, maybe it was another video that I watched, but he talks about how they scaled up the business. So they went from 0 to $100 million in less than 3 years of yearly recurring revenue, and the way that they did that was positive feedback loops. So this is a recurring theme that you'll see in a lot of huge businesses like Amazon and Netflix and things like that, is they figure out how to get basically what is going to work to where it will just like reinforce itself over and over. So what he did in this particular example, he was like telling the story of how they ended up doing their marketing campaign. And some venture capital guy came in to meet with him, and he was like, tell me about your business. He's like, oh, this is how we get customers. We, costs us $120 or something to acquire each new person for a free trial. And the venture capital guy was like, oh man, that's awesome. That's like so cheap. I can't believe it. And he's like, we don't do that anymore though. He's like, what are you talking about? Why you don't do that anymore? And he's like, no, it's too expensive. So the thing that they did instead was he wrote this book. And then you'll also see another thing too. Anybody that has a book to sell, they do like a free book plus shipping, right? You pay for the shipping and they'll send you the book for free. So basically what he did was he wrote this book and then he gave it away for free. And then there's all kinds of upsells and cross sells and stuff. Once you put in your information, it's like, do you want to download the audio version of this? It's like $35. Okay. And then if you say yes, then it takes you to another page. It's like, do you want to download like the CD and like all this other stuff, right? This whole program and stuff. And by the end, you can spend $300 or $400 just by getting this free book, if you want to, right? If you decided you wanted to do that. What's that? Okay, yeah, so did I, right, so did I. And so basically what he did was that he created this funnel that would get people in, and then every time somebody got a free book, they basically made like $40 or something because of it averaged across, right? Not everybody ended up buying all this stuff, but because there were so many high ticket items as you went, it ended up making like, $40 or $50 or something per person who got the free book. And then what they did is they started with, a few $100s, they put that into ads, and then once started people buying the book, then they used somebody else's money to start like scaling up their business, right? Instead of raising $1 million or $10 million or whatever, they did it like $40 at a time. And then he was saying that they would make $40, they would give away a book for free, they would make $40, and then they would offer somebody a free trial of the software. So any money they made after that, they were already like, it was just gravy, the whole thing. So the point of me telling you that story is, if you figure out the thing that resonates with people and that works in their mind, the conversation that they're having in their head, if you're able to have the other side of that conversation with them, you can scale up really fast and you can use somebody else's money, and you don't necessarily have to like go out and raise a bunch of money like a lot of people do. So just briefly, I'll talk about kind of what I'm doing as far as like picking an ad type. So this is the type of ad that I normally run is a lead generation ad. A lot of people will do conversions. or like traffic or engagement, but those are, I don't usually like to use those except for pretty specific instances, because it's real easy to get like vanity metrics on those things. So people want engagements, right? They want like likes and they want comments and thumbs up and all this, but like you can't pay your bills with that, right? Yeah, exactly, right. Doesn't pay your bills. But like lead generation, you like capture people's contact information, phone numbers, email addresses, stuff like that, demographic data if you want that. That's a list, right? There's money in the list, like we talked about before we started. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize, is they want to just like, 99% of the ads that I see on Facebook is like, buy my shit, right? Like, buy my thing, here, buy my thing, click here, click here. But that is, the real pros don't do it like that. They're like, here's this free thing. Do you want this guide? Here's this problem that you're having. Read my article, right? So without a strategy, and you know, starting with the end in mind, right? Like what, Stephen Covey, that's the guy, I guess. If you're not starting with the end in mind, then it's, like I said, it's real easy to spend $50, $200 and be like, it doesn't work. It's because like you didn't have a plan to begin with. So, so here's an example of ad that I run, this lead generation ad. So, and I'll get into like the specifics of it in a second, but this is just generally what it looks like. So the components of an ad are an image, obviously, which is this. The headline, which is like, usually I call out specifically what the town is. You don't always have to do that. If it's a geographic thing, then it usually makes sense to do that, because like people are going to see their town and they're going to immediately, it's an identifier for them, right? Because it's real easy to scroll past this stuff, but if you see your town, you know, it catches your eye a lot more. So headline, this is a headline. This is also sort of a headline. I don't really count this as a headline because this is the thing you're going to see first, but Facebook calls this a headline, so it's sort of, take it with a grain of salt. And then the body copy, obviously, which is this section here. And then the last thing is the call to action. You should always have a call to action. There's a lot of ads that I see, there is no call to action. It's just like, hey, here's this thing. Have a great day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to tell people exactly what to do. Tap the button, learn more to get whatever it is, right? Right, this is a call to action also, right? Even on this button. So it's critical. And if you can have your call to action a couple times, if you click this more, you can't see it right here. But if you click that, then it says this, a few more things, then it has the call to action again. Because if somebody's scrolling through quickly and they're kind of scanning over this thing, maybe they see it, maybe they don't. So it's certainly beneficial to give them that instruction more than once, because they could easily scroll past it or scan over it or whatever. So. One thing that I don't have in here is your objective, which is, like I said, before you start this campaign, start with the end in mind. What's your objective? What action do you want someone to take? Obviously, if you're running an ad, you want them to do something, right? And so being mindful of that, but then also set a budget. I don't have this in here, but if you're starting a new campaign and you haven't run this thing before, be prepared to spend some real money, not $50 or $200, but maybe a couple $1,000, depending on what it is, because you're going to have to test a few things out. You're going to have to test out a few different audiences. You're going to have to test out a bunch of images, a bunch of copy, and it's going to take you a while to figure out what is the thing that people like that really works, because it's like mining for gold, digging for gold, or whatever. You have an idea kind of where it is, but like until you get onto it, you're just kind of like digging dirt. But like once you find it, it's like suddenly very valuable. So I don't have that in here, but mentally prepare yourself to like waste some money. Like that's the thing that a lot of my clients freak out about, is they're like, oh, we only got like 3 leads or something. I'm like, right, but we spent $500 and we're like so much closer now than where we were. So, so the offer, when it comes to your ad, if the offer sucks, the ad sucks. If it's not something that jumps out and grabs people, it doesn't matter how awesome your picture is or how awesome your body copy is, right? Like if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, like it doesn't matter. Same thing with, doesn't matter how awesome your body copy is, if the offer that you're giving to people is not something that they want or something that they care about, like you're just throwing money away. And then also the thing too is nobody gives a shit about you. This is a thing that I see a lot of people do. They talk about their company or their business or how much experience they have and all this, and nobody really cares about that. All they care about is themselves. even though they're scrolling and looking at everyone else, they're just like judging everyone else. So they're only thinking about themselves, and the thing that will grab them is if you can solve a problem that they have. Or not necessarily solve a problem, but also just like give them something that they want. That's a really important thing. And I like in this particular book, Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz is a great book. This is, when it comes to copywriting, this is like the manifesto that like all really good copywriters recommend. And it's super dense, but basically the whole premise of it is like you cannot manufacture want. You have to just find what people already want and then like position your product as the thing that will like give them what they want. So then the next question is like, is my offer good? Well, when value exceeds price, people will buy. So if it doesn't hurt a little bit, it's probably not that great of an offer. Even if you feel like, oh, I mean, I'm only making like 15% or 40% or what, like if you're not losing money or close to losing money on the initial deal, it's probably not that good of an offer, because somebody else is gonna say, like for instance, we talk about like food industry. Yeah. There's a guy in one of the Facebook groups that I'm in, and he runs campaigns for pizza restaurants where it's like a buy one, get one free, or like get a free pizza, right? And most business owners would freak out if you're like, we're gonna run an ad to give free pizza away to anybody who wants it. But like, again, right, it's about like building an audience, right? That's way more valuable than giving them one pizza. If they come in and they like the pizza, then they're gonna like get some beer, they're gonna get some soda, they're gonna get breadsticks, right? And then before you know it, you've actually made money on the deal. And then also they're gonna come back, right? If a tree falls in the forest, if nobody comes and tastes how great your food is because like they're not paying attention to that, then like it doesn't make any difference. So you gotta get them in the door, and that will definitely get them in the door. So picking images. The thing that Facebook, if you pick images that Facebook knows people like, then like they will show your ad more frequently, and they will also, which essentially means that you'll get a better deal on it. So Facebook would rather show an ad for 10 cents 10 times than show an ad one time for $1. Even though it seems counterintuitive, they would rather repeat your ad over and over and over because it's something that people want to look at. And if people click on it a lot, people go through your funnel, right? Like give you their information. Facebook is going to show that more, and they're going to give you a deal on that. So one of the things that Facebook really likes is smiling faces, obviously, right? Facebook, it's in the name. It also likes pictures with one man and one woman. It also likes pictures of nature. It also likes pictures with animals in it. So even if your image doesn't exactly relate to whatever your offer is, that's not necessarily the objective, right? The objective of an image is to grab people's attention, right? That's it. So then the next thing is a good headline, right? So like I talked about the Hey Colchester, whatever. The first thing that people see is your picture. That's the fastest thing that they're going to notice, right? We can process pictures way faster than we can process text. So then the headline, right, is going to grab their attention. So you can be as simple as like, now lose ugly fat, right? It talks about this in this book too. There's like different degrees of headlines that you can write for different degrees of sophistication, right? But something that grabs their attention. Another thing is it should qualify or disqualify people who read it. So like the Hey Colchester thing, right? If you don't live in Colchester, like this is not for me, I'm done. But if you do, oh, this is for me. Maybe I should find out more about this thing. So another example of that is whose fault when children disobey. I don't have kids, so I read this and I'm like, not for me, right? But if you have kids, then you're like, oh, yeah, whose fault is it, right? And then the next thing is it offers a promise, right? The same for this is like whose fault when children disobey. That is giving you a promise of if you read through this thing, maybe it will tell you this, right? So another example of that is profits that lie hidden in your farm, right? If you're a farmer and you read that, you're like, okay, this is like, I should read the rest of this thing. So headline objectives. The objective of a headline is to get them to read the first sentence of the body copy. The first sentence objective is to get them to read the second sentence. The second sentence objective, you see the pattern here, to get them to read the third sentence, etc. So each of these lines, the headline or any of the body copy it's all intended to keep you it's all intended for you to continue down the path until they can say, and now here's this thing that will solve your problems, right? So the objective is to get you to read to the bottom, and as long as you are creating copy that is propelling people forward, that's really the main goal. Okay, good body copy. It pays off what the headline was, right? The promise that's made. Pays off that, gets in their head, like I said before, the conversation that they have in their head. If you can have that conversation mentally with them, like, you got them. And then it makes them want more, obviously, as they read. And then the last thing is a call to action. You should always include at least one call to action. You should probably include it multiple times, but you shouldn't have multiple calls to action. You shouldn't say, sign up for my e-newsletter and like buy a ticket for this event and like come see us, and like all on and on and on. You should have one singular focus. Again, like what I said, it's about starting with the end in mind. What's the one thing that you want to accomplish by creating this ad? Is it to get people to come into your store? Is it to get to buy this thing? Is it to collect their contact information? That's, if you're starting out, that's usually one of the best things to do, and just start building up your list. So in this book by Victor O. Schwab, How to Write a Good Advertisement, this is a good book. This is I would probably start here, and this is like super dense one. This is a good intro, and then this is like gets really into the nitty gritty of like how you want to like up your game, your copywriting game. And then also it has techniques for when your ad kind of wears out, like how to rewrite things, if it's super noisy in the market, if there's other like competitors and stuff, how you can change your copy to stand out from it, right? Breakthrough advertising, right? That's like the name of the book. So in this book, Victor O. Schwab says that a good ad should be easier to read than not to read. So that's the good mark. And there's a thing called the FK score, which measures how difficult it's like an algorithm that measures how difficult your text is to read. If it's like 3rd or 4th grade level, that's probably good. You start getting up above that, long compound sentences and things like that, it just gets tough for people, right? Like I don't want to say people are lazy, but they're lazy, right? Like they're not gonna sit there and decide. If they get hung up, like, I'm done, right? It needs to be easier to read than to not read. And so then another thing that we were talking about before we started is the thing to remember about Facebook is it's not like Google, right? When somebody goes to Google and they type in a phrase into Google, like, those people are hot buyers, right? Because they're in their mind, they are trying to solve a specific problem. People who are on Facebook are just like, their problem is that they're bored and they're wasting time, right? So nobody goes there to buy. And if you can keep that in mind, then it's going to be a lot less frustrating, because you're going to get a lot more like dead leads, or, you know what I mean? But like, that's what I run into a lot with a lot of clients that I work with. I work with a lot of real estate agents. And so I get them a lot of leads. That's what everybody wants, wants the leads. And so it's easy to get leads, but like, you got to have a process to sift those leads out to people who are like serious and people who are just looking around, right? Because that's what people do on Facebook. So if you're on Google or something and you're doing keyword targeting on Google, the percentage of good leads that you get is going to be a lot higher, because like, those are buying phrases, most of them, right? And if you can say this, whatever problem you have, this thing solves your problem, like, okay. But a lot of the time on Facebook, like, people don't even know they have a problem yet. And so you gotta have a process to sort of hammer on that, really. I mean, that's what these like copywriting books are, right? It's like amplifying that need and that want, so that there's one guy that calls it like a bleeding neck, right? Like, if you have a bleeding neck, like, you just drop whatever you're doing, you go to the ER, right? And most things, especially when you're advertising on Facebook, it's not a bleeding neck, right? So you gotta have a little hook, and then you just gotta like hammer away on that thing to like, oh yeah, this is like a much bigger problem than I realized. Like, oh, what am I gonna do about my like car insurance or whatever? And a couple things to keep in mind when it comes to advertising on Facebook is like, meet them where they are, which is also in this thing. Again, it's not about trying to like force people to want something. It's about figuring out what they want and then setting your product up as the thing that will fulfill that need. And then always be testing, like I said before. You're going to have to spend a little bit of money to figure it out. And that's okay. You know, people give up too early most of the time. You're not going to have to spend $10,000. But the thing to remember too is like the Russell Brunson thing. Once you figure it out and you can get a positive feedback loop going, then you're going to make your money back pretty easy once you figure it out. So it may take some time, it may take some money, but you don't have to keep paying that yourself indefinitely, right? The objective is to get some cash flow going and then use that money to fuel the rest of the growth in your business. So, and then there's some notes here at the end. Like I said, I'll upload I'll upload these slides and I'll upload this video and I'll send a link out to the group and all that stuff. So that's pretty much it. That's the presentation that I have. What questions do you guys have, or can I answer for you?
They're always asking me to boost.
Same here.
Yeah, if I put out like a video or I write about an event, they ask me to boost it. Like, the event's over. Why do you want me to boost this? We'll get 371 people to look at your ad for $15.
Boosting is...
That's what they say to me all the time. It's just constant. It's just, I'll give you $15 credit.
Right.
I get that, and...
Yeah, boosting is a great invention by Facebook to get your money and you get nothing in return. It's like a slot machine, right? It's like, it's real easy to put the money in, but like, again, it comes down to like what your objective is, right? Start with if your objective is to like get it seen, well, so what, right? I mean, you can stand outside with a bullhorn. A lot of people are going to see you. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do anything about it. And so I don't boost posts.
Okay.
Part of it is because like part of it is because the interfaces, the tools that you have are a lot more limited, right? Because and I haven't looked at it in a while, but from what I remember is I don't even know if you can collect information. I think it's really just like an awareness tool, right? It's just like a megaphone.
I've used it in the past, and there's things like that say they reach 400 people for $20 or something. I've had them come back in 3 days and say, you reached 10 people and we only charge you 8 cents. What have you been doing for 3 days?
Right.
The two of you weren't here when I said this to Juana and Justin. I am the publicity director for a nonprofit camera club in North Haven Camera Club. NorthhavenCameraClub.com. You know, when you're a PR person, you have to get that. Right.
Yeah, we're on YouTube here, so like, yeah, shout it out here.
It's very simple. It's in North Haven. It's a camera club. NorthhavenCameraClub.com. Look it up when you go home.
I'm from North Haven.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Yeah. We'll see you at our next meeting then.
Well, I'm not from there anymore.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
from there.
Okay.
My first 45 years were there.
All right. So what I was saying is, I put events on our page. We have two Facebook pages. One that's just intro for us, and you have to get permission. You know, you have an admin, and the other that anybody can go on. And this is the one anybody can go on. If it's something where we don't have to make a profit, I'll set up an event, and I won't boost it. But they keep asking me to boost it. If we need to at least break even because of expenses, we had to fly somebody in here for one activity. We have a guy who will go out and buy $30 worth of ads at a time. We've done good. This year was tough because we had a tough speaker, but last year we had a nature speaker, and we did very well with the Facebook posts, with the Facebook ads. How would you like to go through my stuff and tear it apart?
We could definitely do that.
You may.
We could do that.
Okay. Call up on Facebook. Call up North Haven Camera Club, and I'll tell you what the intent was for each of them. We can look at one or more.
Oh, I don't even have the internet in here.
Okay.
Let me see. Maybe there's an open network. Oh, that's. Let's see here. Let me go ask her real fast for the. You think that you just write it right here? Oh, here we go. Wi-Fi. Oh, got it. Okay. I won't read it out. So publicly.
What good is a place like West Hartford co-work?
Oh no, yeah, it's okay.
Let me know if that.
What's the? Okay.
In a co-working place, you would have to have Wi-Fi. It's
our
it's like
entire business.
Yeah, I know, exactly, right?
Without it, it's like, I might as well just go to Starbucks.
you don't have to pay rent at Starbucks.
Well, I guess
Right?
I typed it in there wrong.
$$. Oh, and, on.
Oh, guest,
like a
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, which is it?
I have another one at that one for whatever reason. Backups.
You're prepared.
Oh,
That's
you
it.
gotta
Yeah,
be.
that's
Oh, yeah.
good.
Yes.
Just thinking about it. There we go. Okay. Oh, I can't see anything. Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Do you want to sit here and I can sit over there? It's easier for you to look and sit.
It'll just take me a second to do this,
Okay.
and then I'll just stand here and look at it.
North Haven Camera
Oh.
Club. Remember, northhavencamera.com.
You have to shorten that. He didn't remember.
Okay, well, let's see here. Well, this is like current
Maybe the ad
ads.
expired. Maybe if you just go to the website, go to Facebook. Oh yeah, you were on the website. You were trying to go to our Facebook website. Type North Haven Camera Club.
Uh-oh.
And that's the first one, yes. Go do that one.
I don't know if it'll show. There used to be a thing to see ads here, but
Okay, if you scroll down, you'll see an ad that we posted.
okay.
There we are. Here's one
This
that
one?
this is one that I did and somebody boosted.
Okay.
We had, this was a tough one to do because we had trouble getting people to sign up for this. So we had to change philosophy quite a bit. So a week before I did, hey, tickets are still available.
So my first, without knowing what this is,
Yes.
being like a cold viewer, right?
Yes.
I don't know what this is.
It says it down below, Judy. Hope
Right, I
you
know,
get-
but
okay.
that's my point. Is
Okay.
like
All right.
I don't immediately know
Okay.
Yeah.
like
All right,
what
thank
is
you.
what is this for? Okay,
Okay.
special event, weekend portrait photography presentation and workshops. So my first thing would be to do the obvious thing, right? Show a camera, because
Okay.
like that's what you're going to use, right?
All
That
right.
if I'm a camera, if I'm
Okay.
a photographer, that's
Uh-huh.
I'm going to notice that. I'm like, oh, what kind of camera
Okay.
is that? If it's
All
like
right.
a dramatic looking camera photo, a picture of a
Okay.
camera, someone holding a camera,
All right.
that's going to get my attention.
Okay.
And then I say like, I would probably not even say who this person is because are they going to know who that person is? Maybe, maybe not. But like photography workshop,
Alrighty.
oh, I know what that is, right? That's a known thing. So I would probably say like photography workshop, not even in just regular text like that. I'd probably do in brackets, right? Anything that's sort of like
Brackets.
parenthetical comment, I usually do in brackets. Also, if you do it in brackets, it stands out from the rest of it, right? So you want some contrast as far as like what the actual copy of this thing is. So I would say photography workshop, and then probably even the weekend, right? Like 625, a weekend of 625, whatever,
Okay.
in XYZ thing. And then up here, well, you probably do that here, and then I would repeat whatever this is up here
Okay.
because they're going to see this first.
Repeat.
They're going to
Alright.
see this image and be like, oh, what is this? And it's a photography workshop. Okay.
Okay.
Well, now what? Okay, and then it goes into like, tickets are still available, $25. Click here to save 30% or whatever. You don't do, people do 30% off and all this, but like 30% off of what? I don't know how much that is, right? So the more specific you can get, the better it is, because that's going to help draw people in, right? So if you could say tickets are normally $500 and it's $285 or something, with this special coupon. And then what you could do is I would probably use, I think there's a way for people to in any case, I mean, you'd have like you had some website, right, where they could come and like
Yes.
check out. So you have a Facebook pixel installed on that page or no? Do you know?
No, we don't. I
Okay,
should.
so you should do that.
Have a pixel inside.
Right, because then if somebody comes to that page and they decide they don't want to go to this particular thing, then the next one you could show them an ad for the next person, the whatever workshop, and you'll be able to show them for a fraction of the cost. Because like I said before, Facebook wants to show people things that they want to see. So if they've already clicked on your ad before, it means they're interested, and it means they want to see probably other things from you, so they're going to give you a discount on that. So that comes into like building an audience. You don't necessarily have to collect people's contact information, but like you can build an audience like with a Facebook pixel. So there's a guy, maybe you guys have heard of a guy named Sam Ovens. Have you heard of this guy before? He's like a business consultant guy. Anyway, he runs like millions of dollars of Facebook ads every year, and his Facebook pixel has like worked out so much that when he does his targeting, he doesn't target specifically anything. He just puts United States of America, and then like Facebook has so much data on his pixel that it can just go out and find like exactly who the people are because he spends so much money. So that would be my advice as far as like
Thank you.
how to like quickly get that to grab
Okay.
people's attention. So
Now, so you set this up as an event and then try to post the event?
Yes, that's what we did. Yes.
Okay, all right. Now, do you have any suggestion on could they have done it a different way instead of using like the event route? Maybe.
yeah, I mean, ultimately, any of that type of stuff, you just have to like test it out and see what
Okay.
works best. So there's some like best practices, like depending on what it is. I haven't run a lot of ads for events. It's
Events,
mainly
okay.
just like direct response
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
That's-
So,
That's what.
All right. Yeah.
but you know, you could run that as like one thing you could run it as like an event. That's probably okay. But like the other thing too, especially when it comes to like you know, people paying for something, you could use like a conversion event for that. And then Facebook is really good. You can tell it, you know, optimize for people that add things to the cart, optimize for people who checked out. You have to have a lot of data for them to optimize people who have to go out and find people who are really likely to check out.
Okay.
So if you're like Amazon or something, obviously you have a lot of data. If you don't have a lot of data, then you would just target the one step above that, right? So it would be like, you know, came to the checkout page or like added something to their cart or.
Can I tell you a funny story about that picture? It was given to me by the portrait photographer, and I thought, she gave me 3 different pictures. I thought, oh, this is the best one. Oh, it's a great family, you know, whatever. Well, there's a story behind it. They wanted they were going through the divorce, the man and the woman, and here are the 3 kids.
Oh wow.
She said to the photographer, I do not want to be standing next to him. I want a family picture by the, so that's why she's there.
Okay.
But here I am thinking, oh, what a nice happy family. And the dog, you know, you can't get a dog to do pose on cue. So
Right.
she took the picture of the dog and photoshopped it.
Nice, great,
And you couldn't
authentic
even
family
tell the picture
photo.
from
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah, right.
Yeah.
All that work, yeah.
So how fine can you target like if I wanted to reach out to people with type 2 diabetes, for example?
So that's an interesting question. You can't target. Obviously, Facebook probably knows that stuff, and of course, before like Cambridge Analytica and all that, there was.
Yeah, the American Diabetes Association website.
Right. So you can target interests, right? Not necessarily like specific conditions that people have, and they also don't like it when you call out those specific things.
Yeah.
So even though they know,
Yeah.
or you're targeting someone and you know this person is likely to be in this group, they don't like it when, you know, Facebook, that's against Facebook ad policy to
Yeah,
say
it's
like,
simple,
hey, people with diabetes, like they don't like that.
Well, I know that I was doing weight loss, and I was really sensitive about anything you advertise.
Right,
Oh yeah.
right,
You couldn't say fat. You couldn't have
Right.
a picture of a scale. You
Right.
couldn't have so much stuff. you couldn't
Right.
say. There was things that they wouldn't let me do that I didn't even know why. I couldn't figure out. I'm looking at
Yeah.
the rules. I'm looking at that. I don't even know what
Right.
I don't like
And if
about
you're not
it.
careful, they'll ban your
right.
ad account.
Yeah, they just turn like, yeah. I mean, what do you do? And that's the thing is like I've had problems.
They'll ban
now I'm doing like health coaching, but I'm putting together
Oh.
a program where you can like, it's gonna be a couple DVDs and a guidebook as a package, and it'll take you through everything you need to do. And I
Gotcha.
wanna do that with one included coaching session minimum, where I might tell them some more coaching.
Right.
But at least I also wanna make sure they get off and they're understanding everything and they're getting off on the right foot when they
Right.
get going, so.
Right.
It's about using diet too. I mean, most of our chronic health issues, pretty much all of them, are caused by overeating.
Right.
When you
Right.
change what you're eating, a lot of them just
Right.
go away.
Are you
Right.
using-
Yeah.
Is your
Yeah.
product Medifast?
Huh?
Is
No,
your
he doesn't
pro-
have a product.
Oh, you don't have a
No,
product, okay.
I'm totally self-taught.
Okay.
Okay.
Health
And you
plan.
wanna buy
My
natural
plan is,
foods.
it's my,
Oh,
Right,
okay.
any grocery store.
it's a
Okay,
keto
okay.
plan, but it's my.
Okay.
Because I know
Gotcha.
somebody who
You know, I went
pushes,
through everybody else's books and
she's a
picked
health
out
coach,
the
but
best
she
of everything. I
pushes,
watched hundreds and
something.
hundreds
Yeah.
of YouTube videos,
Now,
of
this
all
is-
kinds of people talking, and
Yeah.
Okay.
This is becoming
No, I've been
expert
living
in
it for
yourself,
4.5
and he just helps
years.
guide
Okay.
you to that,
Nice.
to figure
It's
out what
amazing.
works best for you.
Okay. Yeah, I
Everybody's-
mean the thing too is like
everybody's
maybe there's,
So,
Yep.
you know, like you're talking about like diabetes. Not necessarily. You could target people who like specific magazines and things like that I've seen people do. Another thing is not necessarily again like the buy my thing, right? But just sort of like what's an adjacent thing of like a guide to healthy eating or something. You know what I mean? That's like a lot less like obvious and a lot less. You're gonna
They
run
can
into a
bury
lot.
you, too.
What's that?
They can bury you,
Yeah.
put you way down, yeah.
Yeah, so you know, I would think about things like that, not necessarily what's the head-on thing, but like what's the stuff, sort of like the Velociraptor, right? It's not the one that gets you head-on; it's like the one that comes from the side. So, you know, yeah, Velociraptor
Just,
philosophy.
are you saying maybe positive instead of saying you need to lose weight? It's like, are you health conscious? You
That's
know?
another thing too. Is like obviously Facebook wants people to feel good when they're on Facebook, because if they feel bad, then they won't want to come back to Facebook. So if you can angle it to where that's a good point, where
Yeah,
it
you
is
gotta
more
put a positive
positive,
spin
right,
on it.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, like this is a thing that will help you, as opposed to like, are you in poor health, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Be your own health expert.
right, yeah, just like a 2 millimeter shift, right? Like Tony Robbins says, like, you know, tweaking it a little bit can really make a big difference. So, any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, what do you guys think of this?
I think
This
First
is good.
meetup.
It's
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
It's good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good education.
Not too,
Yes.
you know, it's more like 30,000
Okay.
looking down. And then it also depends on what level each person
Right.
is at.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so like in my case, I've dabbled in the, you know, with creating ads and doing all that stuff, and you know, getting some traction.
What do you
But-
do?
I'm a banker at day.
A banker?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also started a social media agency.
Oh, okay.
So, and I have a few clients that I'm, you know, helping out. But I
Okay.
still need that to
You do-
tweak. I still need to tweak things.
Okay.
You know, like.
So what do
get-
you do with the social media? You
So with the social media, I set up campaigns.
Oh, okay.
You know, for like a restaurant to drive in traffic for like happy hour or stuff like that.
Okay.
Or a new place that just opened, you know, to try
Yeah.
to, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing, and
Okay.
that's my background, you know,
Yes.
food. So I figured, you know, if I can get.
You're a
and then-
banker.
yeah, and then I've seen so many places open up, and I talked to them like last year, and 6 months after they're out of business, and I'm
Right.
like, I could have maybe
Helped.
helped you,
Yeah.
and it pains me because
With
I
the
know
social media.
the
Right.
investments that go into it, all the excitement, all the dreams, and you know, this restaurant, and then 6 months after you're closing shop. There's one in Bristol that just Firehouse sold
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right on Route 6.
The problem with Firehouse Sub, because a friend of mine was going
Yeah.
to be buy a franchise,
Yeah.
and he decided to buy 2 Subways instead.
Okay.
Firehouse is not a well-known name around here.
Correct.
Subway is Subway.
Correct.
Firehouse, it's like, do I want to try it or do I not want to try it?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are things like that, but you could have given yourself a chance.
Right.
You could have listened, you know, tried something. Don't just think
And they
of.
might have.
Don't just do.
They might have.
mailing out coupons to people.
Unless you talk to them,
Right.
you don't know if they tried
Most houses,
Right.
I get a coupon, it goes in my trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a
but
franchise,
everybody's
they should
on
be able to
this.
help.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Right. That's the whole
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
of like getting a
You know,
franchise. Yeah.
somebody
It's a
comes
franchise.
into your
a-
firehouse sub,
It's a
Uh-huh.
have
guaranteed
something
model
there,
you're buying.
Mhm.
you know, to capture the information. Hey, sign up here with your phone,
Or you-
QR code, and get a free sub.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
On
Yeah,
this
a lot of
visit,
places do that.
oh, I get a free footlong just by
Right.
pointing my phone and
Right.
snapping.
Yeah.
Then I capture your data because you sign in. It's so
Yeah.
simple.
Right.
Now I have you in my CRM, and if it's a slow day, I can send out the lunch special. One
Right.
click,
Yeah.
blast it to everyone. Oh, lunch, Firehouse Sub. Last time they gave me a free footlong. Guess
Right.
what? I'm going there for lunch or whatever.
Mhm,
Something to differentiate yourself.
Right.
But people are still stuck on.
You know what I think always thought was a good thing is fill out a form and you may win, and then you get you have somebody's name and you can call them up.
Correct.
Yeah, like North Haven Fair, you have a guy selling aluminum siding. Hey, sign
Yeah,
up
right.
for free something.
Yeah, we did that for free pots and pans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I was
Bingo.
getting married.
Uh-huh.
And so, and of course I won.
Uh-huh.
But everybody else who put in their name. And I still had to pay for them.
Right.
But I was getting married, so.
Right.
Facebook
Right.
seems like the old model, like back in the 70s and 80s for selling like replacement windows when they would cold call telemarket to set up appointments.
Mhm.
The whole theory was you didn't know you were in the market for windows because you weren't.
Right.
But in one night they put you in the market, then they took you right out of the market by selling you the
Right.
windows.
Right.
And that's kind of like what Facebook is.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't know that they're looking for something, you can grab their attention long
Right.
enough.
Right.
You put them in the market, then you take them
Right.
back out of the market.
Yeah, that's the thing is like everybody goes after the low hanging fruit, right? Because that's the obvious thing of like, oh well, you need it. Like it's obvious there's hail damage. These 20 people all need new roofs. Okay. Well, what about the people that like didn't get hail damage that have like a 20-year-old roof, right?
Right.
Like they need roofs also.
Right.
And then also, it could be a scenario where, just getting more creative with like, what if there's a bunch of like remodeling going on or something, right? I mean, like, what if maybe if they're redoing the outside of their house, like the roof doesn't match anymore. Maybe that's important to them, right? Like you don't know that, and so it's real easy to. There's a lot of fish all competing for the same bait, right? Of like the obvious thing. But even like I said, if you go like one step outside of that, it's much calmer waters, and there's far less competition.
You talked about the blue ocean or the red ocean.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Same deal. Just reinvent it, right? If you're like in a red ocean, you just tweak it a little bit, and then you're suddenly in a blue ocean. There's something. Like you're talking about the restaurant they closed down in 6 months. There's another book that I read, an awesome book called The E-Myth. Have you heard of this before?
Email?
Yeah, and it's about people who are basically like the entrepreneurial myth. That's basically what the book is about. So it's people that are good at a particular thing, and then they decide like, shit, I'm way better at this than like my boss. I'll just quit and I'll start my own company.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is like, just because you're good at the thing doesn't mean that you understand like how to run a business, which is a whole different skill set.
It is.
And really, once you start a business, it's not your job to do the thing anymore. It's your job to run the business if you want the business to work, right? And so bridging that
Finding
mental
money,
gap,
yeah.
right,
You
that's
do
like,
that marketing and everything. I mean, I'm a hypnosis hypnotherapy,
Okay.
and I can do that. I can write the scripts. I can help the people to succeed in goals and quit bad habits. But it's like just to get the clients to come. It's like
right.
I just want to do that.
Yeah, it's a
but I'm
different
just
skill.
starting,
Right, it's
so,
a different skill.
yeah.
So that's the thing. You can do yourself, or you can hire somebody like me, right? Because that's what I do.
Well, as soon as I get clients, I can hire
Okay.
you. I have to get the clients to hire
Right.
you,
Well,
so-
but see, that's the thing too. Is like, yeah, that is true. That it's right.
have
It's
to
like a
have
chicken and an
info,
egg
your
type of
cash,
thing,
yeah.
right? But yeah, that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize when they go to start a business. Is like there's a lot of jobs that you have to do that you didn't realize first of all, and then also it's like it's a tough skill set, right?
This is my third business.